And good afternoon and good late afternoon, everybody. And welcome to, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to do this month 3 series of product feature classes for this type of organs this month. So it's going to be this time again next week and this time again the following Thursday. Okay? I had some feedback from some students that we haven't done one in a while or whatever, or I'd get a question and I was like, that might be a good thing to answer. Sometimes answer again. But to get warmed up, let me play a song first. I like to get warmed by playing a little music, if that's okay. And let's see here. How about something pretty like this? It's getting hot out these days, right? Both in Florida and Arizona and for everywhere else. So I'm going to cool things off by being the theme from Ice Castles. And we'll see. Well, this will be a good test to see if I'm clipping or not. Let me turn myself down. I'm still a little loud here. Okay. Hopefully the volume's okay. Let's see here. Pardon me. Let me put this up here, so I'm going to look at my volume setting as I'm playing. So here we go. Funny. I started doing the ending and I realized the ending button wasn't pressed. So I started doing my ending. Anyway, so I want to revisit a topic that I know has been taught a couple of times over the years, and I've recently found myself not just here locally, but all around or on the phone with students, what have you, And there's always this little bit of, boy, it'd be great if they knew this. And so if this is a topic that you're familiar with, well, we learn by repetition. And hopefully you'll have some take-home value, and I'll throw in a couple other things. So the USB, the famous USB, or if you have a disk drive organ, same concept, just with a floppy disk. So I grouped everybody that had floppy disks, the touchscreen models, because the function is the same on all of the models as far as loading, presets, and what have you. The first, I think the easiest thing to do with a USB is if it has music on it, playing it. That's kind of like the real simple thing. A lot of people learn how to do that very quickly. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to show a couple other things with the USB to keep in mind. So the USB that I have, you'll notice when I hit load presets that I had some song titles on there. But this USB that I have on mine also happens to have songs recorded on it. Now, real simply, if you're playing a disc or a USB that has songs on it, they're very easy to use. You have to decide, so you got to decide, do I want to just play one song at a time, or do I want to play all of the songs? Okay? So the first thing is, if you're going to play a USB that has already songs recorded on it, the first thing you want to do is make sure to go into the feature of the instrument that comes up as change songs. One of the things I really want to talk about today is actually loading presets and loading song presets and what the difference is. But first, let's talk about the simple thing that most people can do very easily. And so if you go to your feature, I usually scroll down, because you can, when you scroll through, you can scroll up, I think, 10 or 11 pages. Yeah, there's 11 pages, and depending on the instrument, there might be less or more. Okay? If you can see that up there, there's page 1 up at the top there. You can either tap up to page 10 or you can go down backwards, and you'll go to a page 11 in this case. It might be the same on all of the models, I'm not sure. But what you want to find on the screen, it says change songs. Okay? Change songs, when you select it, you get these options. Now I'll explain what all of these options are. Okay? Some of them are self-explanatory. Repeat song, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you have it on that and you play a song on your USB or the floppy, it's supposed to, in theory, repeat that song. Chain loop, think of it like a regular chain. You got one after the other. So if you got 10 songs, 20 songs on a USB or a floppy disk, the chain loop will play song wherever you started at. Now, if you started on song 1, it'll go song 1, song 2, song 3, song 4, etc. But you can scroll up and go to song 5 and start at song 5, and then it'll go 5, 6, 7, 8, and so forth. The random loop is, most people understand that, wherever you press play, if it's on song 5 or 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever, wherever you start, the next song that plays is going to randomly select the songs on that device, your disk or USB. Now the volume pedal, in all my years, I've only used this option once, and probably because I didn't like it. But I'll explain what it is, and it's more than likely one that you may or may not use. You can try it. But when we record, when you hear us play on Zoom or in person or whatever, if you notice when we play, we don't play at the same volume all the time. You know, like a piano player, when they play, they want more expression. They hit it harder, or the more delicate, the softer, and they change the dynamics and the expression. As I understand it, volume pedal is when the song was recorded by whomever. When we play and we record that song, a lot of times we tend to use the volume anyway when we play. But when you play it plays back at a steady volume. If this is activated and you're playing back a song on a floppy disk or something that someone recorded, what should in theory happen is you would hear the volume being affected. But sometimes it gets a little wonky depending on who recorded the song. Because if the person recording the song doesn't realize that, see, when I sit down and record a song, it doesn't matter what I do with my volume pedal. When I play it back, it's going to be at the steady volume. But if someone played it back and my foot's going up and down, you're going to get that effect. So that's why this is very rarely, in all my years, I've never really used that. And then when I record songs, I don't keep that in mind. Okay? Should we admit those?
That's strange, Robert, because in all the recordings that I've done in the last 4 years, I have that on all the time.
When you record the song?
Yes.
Well,
in order to pick up your use of the expression pedal, you have to have that on.
Well, yes, if you want to play it back, but if you're recording that and you know that's what you're doing, then that's okay. Problem is when I go and record a song sometimes, I don't have that in mind. I have it off, and I have it in mind with just recording the song. So I may, while I'm playing, change it around, not thinking what I'm doing, and if someone plays it back, it may not come out right. Now, if I record it specifically that way, then I'm going to be conscious of it while I'm playing.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because if you're recording a song, you're using the expression pedal when you're playing, right?
Not always, no.
But when you
usually when I record a song for somebody, I'm recording it with the intent of they're going to hear it at one straight volume. Okay. But sometimes I forget while I'm playing and I'll turn it down a little bit or off. So I'm not recording it as if with that intended. So if you're doing it as it is intended, then yes. But if someone's recording and they're not doing it intentionally, and then you play it back and you turn that on, it may jump on you. So it's best is if it's intended that way. So you can play back a recording of someone else and turn it on and see how they did it. They may have done it intentionally or not. Now this one here, this autoplay, this one sometimes gets activated on an organ. I don't know how or why, but autoplay means this. If that is activated, okay, and the organ is off, okay, when I turn on the organ, autoplay just means it searches for a disc or a USB on the organ to automatically start playing. So as you can see, it's accessing the USB right now. And it just happened. Now it's going to probably just start playing. Okay? Now, if you don't have the USB on, and you do that, different models do different things, I've noticed. I've had a lot of phone calls say my organ came on and it says no disc found, or yeah, there it is. That pops up because I don't have it in there. Okay? So in that case, I just click OK. There's nothing in there. And then it just goes to that. So there's blank. Okay? So that'll happen. So why would I have the auto play? Well, believe it or not, some people use it as their alarm clock. So you could set the timer on the organ to wake up at a certain time and to automatically play whatever USB or floppy disk is in the instrument. Okay? So if you want to do that, again, optional if you want to, you have to have that activated. And then, if you go to the feature, clear, and you go to the clock timer, make sure your clock's on the right time first. You have the wrong PM AM, you may get woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, or if you have it in the afternoon, it's just going to turn on. But if whatever time you have it on, so right now I have it at 1:23. I don't know, I never have this right. We'll put the clock at 1:19, my watch says. And then the wake-up time, I'll put it at 1:21. All right? And now that's set. Now I turn off the organ. If I got the right time and everything on there, what should happen at 1:21 in 2 minutes or whatever time I set it at, it should automatically turn on because I have the wake-up time. And then after it turns on, because I have the auto-play feature on, it's going to search for the USB that's in there. Okay? Now I set my clock timer on the organ about 30 seconds too slow. So we got to tell a joke. Tommy, you know a good joke? No?
I only know riddles.
Go give me a good riddle.
How far can you walk into a forest?
Halfway.
Yeah, whoever said that.
What was the answer?
Halfway, because then you're
Halfway.
walking out.
Oh, okay.
She's
Good
heard
answer.
that one before. Not original.
Well, very good.
And that's
No
the end of
extra
my
charge.
riddles.
No extra charge, folks. No extra charge. All right. So I'm guessing in a matter of seconds here, when my watch goes to 22, it'll be on the right time, because I think I was about a minute. Someone raise their hand?
Yes, there's a question.
Okay, good. While we're waiting, it says Samsung. You have a question?
No question.
Okay. Well, I see your hand. You got a yellow hand. You might want to see a doctor about that. Okay, so you see the organ automatically turned on, and it automatically searched for the USB. Okay? So there's just that in general. So if you don't want that happening, just make sure you go back to your clock, and you can turn off the wake up by putting in an off position. And then you also want to make sure the change songs is on the autoplay is off. Okay? So, are there any questions about anything that I've talked about so far before I go on to the next thing? No questions? That should be, some of this stuff in short is pretty self-explanatory. This volume pedal, that one gets people going. It works if you're recording a song and you're intentionally using it for that purpose. But if you're recording a song, you're not. Just remember, if you turn that on, it'll play back. But if you don't, if you got your foot going on like this or crazy, whoever recorded the song, if that's off, it's okay, because then it's just going to play whatever volume you have set. All right? Now, the next topic on the USB that I like to discuss is, at some point I'm going to cover saving presets again, because to me that's very, very important. We talk about it a lot in our classes. Some people get it, some people don't, and some people need a little more extra time with it. Loading presets is a little bit easier. And there's two ways to load presets. And for some reason, I think I'm not a good explainer of this sometimes, so I'm going to try today. So when I put up on the USB, you'll notice at the top, there are two options that are very similar. One is load presets, and one is load song presets. Yeah. No. Okay, so the load presets was one that a lot of people tend to understand, because if you have on your floppy disk or your USB, if a lot of times we put presets on there for you. I know a lot of you actually to the point where you do your own now, which is good. But a lot of times we'll provide a USB with presets. Sometimes you may get a USB and all there's on it are songs recorded by somebody. And the cool thing is, Lowrey put this option on a long time ago. If you ever got that, you could still get the artist presets. And that's what the other option is. So let me just go real quickly. So load presets is pretty common. So if you got a group of presets for a song that we gave, or I know some of you have the Song of the Month USB that I put out for sale a while back, you just simply have to have your USB in there, obviously. You touch your load presets. Now, depending on your organ and depending on how much is on the USB, as you can see, this is already taken me 7-8 seconds, which is a long time sometimes for me because I'm impatient. So it took about that long to load up about 30 groups of presets. And these groups of presets happen to be the stuff that's from my Song of the Month, okay? And you just find the group of presets that you want to use, whatever it is. So let's say I want to play Unforgettable. And then you select it. The easiest thing at this point, and we tell a lot of students, is just select all. That may not always be the case, but most of the cases we just select all. And what it does is it loads all of the presets in that group into the instrument. Now, sometimes you have to have the information that goes with it. So if you have a song Unforgettable, whoever did it for you, they may say, now listen, I've got 4 presets, 2 presets, 5, whatever. They're on A, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the case is. And a lot of times we even go as far as marking the music accordingly, as many of you know. Okay? But that's the easy way to do it. So if you got them in there, and you just push your whatever it's instructed, A1, A2. Now a lot of times we label them. Let's see, I don't know if I labeled my own. No, I don't know what I can't. It's been a while. I would need the music, but I know on the first 2 or 3, maybe even 4 presets. But you would just play the song and accordingly. Whatever the presets are. Actually nice. I haven't played that. I put those together. I surprised myself. Now, the load song presets. Let me tell you what that is. Now, sometimes Sometimes they are the same as loading presets, and here's why. On this USB that I currently have in the organ, it's all of the Song of the Month classes that I've taught, 26 of them or whatever. So I have all of the presets that I've ever done on the USB. I also have all of the songs I recorded using those presets. So they're both on there. The recordings plus the presets. Okay? Now, so if I load presets for Unforgettable, those are the sounds you get. If I use the option Load Song Presets, and when the list comes up, if I go to, you'll see that the recording Unforgettable is going to be in the list. Let's see. Okay, and now I select it, and I hit all. If I play the song, I'm going to get the exact same sounds. So in this case, they're both the same. Okay? So when would the load song presets be a benefit to me? If you have Bill Curry's 50 songs and they're recorded in the Lowrey format, not MP, you can access his presets that he uses to record those songs. Okay? Pretty clever. So now if you don't have them, you have them only in the MP, I can send you a link and download them if you know how to do that. But here's an example. So let's pretend that this USB only has recorded songs on there. Let's say I gave you this USB and I said, here you go. Here's 26 of my 24, 26, whatever songs that I've recorded. Enjoy listening to them. Okay? Well, here's the little tip. If the question I've had is, how do I know if the load song presets option is going to work for that USB? And here's how you know. Take the USB that has songs recorded on it. This again is assuming you have someone else's USB. And play a song. I'll put on Wonderful World as an example, and I'm going to push play. Okay, now I'm going to turn it down a little bit so you can hear me. If while the song is playing and you look on the organ and you notice that the person that played is using presets on here, that means they use their own custom presets to record that song. So right now at B1 are the presets that I used on this. And I'll turn it back up. Now after it plays through a little bit, let me see what happens. If I remember correctly, after this part, I go to number 2. Okay, now I don't know if you can see it from there, but now it's on B2. Etc., etc. So if you're playing back a recording from somebody and you notice A or B and you see the numbers progressing, changes, then that person that recorded the song used their presets to record that song. Here's the mistake a lot of people make. They go, oh, I'll just stop it right there. Let me put on B1 and start to play. Are you ready? That doesn't sound like what we just heard, right? That's because whatever presets were there are still there. Even though visually it looks like those presets are in there, that's not what's happening, okay? So if you're listening to a recording by Joni or myself or anybody, if you have it on a USB or a floppy disk, this works on any device that any Lowrey organ that has this, you can get their presets very easily by using the load song presets option that you see up there. So in this case, I like the presets that person that was just using. Boy, that was amazing arrangement of that song. And I've got Wonderful World. And I just tap it, and then I do the same thing all. And I remember when I was recording that, I was using B1, etc. Okay? So I push B1 now. Now watch. I just went to the next preset so you could hear that. Okay? So, many of you over the years have collected USBs by many of us. Just remember, if you're playing back recording, and if you see A or B or 1, 2, and they're advancing through, pay attention to what we're doing and see how many numbers we're using. Because then if you want those presets, you can load the song presets, and then just if there's 5 or 6. Now, on this same topic, here's the one that throws people for a loop sometimes. Sometimes I'll record a song and I'll put on a rhythm and I'll just use rhythm preset or style setup and I'll just use what's built into the organ. Okay? And I go and I play that, I record the song using rhythm preset. When you play it back, you're going to notice rhythm preset on. So, hopefully this makes sense. If you have a recording, same concept, and you're playing back the recording, and you notice that whoever recorded that song is using rhythm preset or style setup, depending on your organ, load song presets will not work in that case. Does that make sense? And here's why. If I was listening to Joe Fontesh, I said, hey, Joe, can you record a family opera for me? I'd like to hear your arrangement. And he turns it on, and he picks on a rhythm, and he puts rhythm preset, and he puts rhythm preset 2, 5, and 6. And he records that. I don't have to use load song presets. Because if I'm watching him, if he uses a rhythm and rhythm preset 0, 1, and 5, all I have to do is go, oh, well, I can easily just pick that rhythm and put rhythm preset 0, 1, 4, and 5. Okay? So just kind of understand that load song presets is if you have a recording of a song that someone did for you and you like those sounds that they used, okay? And you can get the sounds that they use, their presets, by using load song presets. And again, I repeat, sometimes load presets and load song presets are going to give you the same presets. I'll give you an example. Last November, we did it for the last 2 years. We all taught a holiday music camp. And we all recorded some holiday tunes. And then in the previous year, we did, I think, I can't remember, 13, give or take. And in the new year, we did the same thing. So there was about 25, 26 songs on there. But all we did is we recorded the songs and put them on the USB for you. We didn't put any presets. And I've told some students this. If you have that USB that has that from that holiday music camp, you essentially, if you look at those recordings when they're playing, if you see A, B, or C being used, you also have the ability to get our setups from those songs that we recorded. I know Joni had some of her own presets on some of the songs from the last 2 years. And you know what I did, Joni? When I did one of my concerts here for the Tucson students, I was like, yeah, I'm going to take those presets that Joni did. I really like that arrangement. And I didn't tell them, of course. I said it was mine. No, I'm just kidding. So that's where load song presets really comes in handy over time. Before I go any further, any questions about anything I've talked about today? This is a good time to ask. I'm going to assume. Any questions?
I see no questions.
No questions? Anybody trying to ask a question but they're muted? No one raised their hands? Okay. Now, I won't go into this in detail today because we could be here for an hour. But there's two things. Here's what I like to do. Over the next 5 minutes, if you can, if you have something that you would like to learn on your Lowrey and taught in a class, put it in the chat. Because if you put it in the chat, in the public chat, when I get the recording back, it actually also sends me any people that might have chatted, put the chat in there. So if you put it in there, I can go back and print it out, and I can go back and refer to those. So if you have something in mind that you'd like to learn that you just don't quite understand, you don't have to get too specific. Just say, I'd like to know more about the harmonies, or I'd like to know more about the special effects, or how do you do the golden harps. These are little things that we've done over the years, but I want to do over the next 2 months. I want to do a lot of these classes. I may not do them all, but I'll do the first 3 here and get all the other staff members. And if you can't use the chat, if you're not familiar how to use the chat, if you have an iPad, you touch the screen, I think there's a chat option. If you have a computer, at the bottom it says chat, and you can just type it. If you don't know how to do that, then you can just email me. And basically, when I send out these notices about the classes and the virtual, that's my email. If you want to write it down, I'll tell you. It's RROMAN at FletcherMusic.com. rroman at FletcherMusic.com. And I'll just kind of keep a tally of questions that people like to learn, and we'll do some of these topics, okay? So if you have a question, leave it in the chat, and I'll download it a little later, or email me, and we'll just over time, I'm going to gradually cover a bunch of different topics. I wanted to do the USB because it seems like that's one that's constantly something that I have to constantly teach with a lot of students. The last thing I want to tell you, and I'll post this somewhere, is, let me screen share this. Saving presets. I think what I'm going to do is I'll post this on Patreon. I've sent this out many times in the past, so you may already have a copy of it. Saving presets is a whole another task sometimes, because a lot of students learn to save presets on the organ. Sometimes that's a little challenging at first, but I always say sometimes when you do it repetitiously is how you learn to do it. And then sometimes they get to the organ and that's as far as they can go. What I'm going to do in the next few days, I'll post this on our Patreon page, a copy of this. And again, you may have this, is how to save presets on the organ and how to save it to your USB. Now, if you have a floppy disk drive organ, Royale, Stardust, Palladium, Rhapsody, okay? The procedure's the same. It just says USB, okay? That's the only difference. On your organ, it'll say disc, okay? But I'm going to leave that up there for a few seconds. So when I post this, I'll put this actually on our YouTube channel for the world to see. I'll also post on our Patreon page, and I'll upload this document in our Patreon, okay? And then what I did is, I don't have every manual in here, but what I did is in the owner's manual, you know, the detailed steps, I put the page numbers. I think they're correct. I put the page numbers that talks about saving presets onto the organ and saving them on your USB or disk. So whatever organ you have there, that should be the page numbers. I'm almost certain that that's correct, okay? So, having said that, again, I'm going to give you my email address. I think Ron had a couple questions in there about how do you get a USB. Do me a favor.
I put it in the chat, Robert.
You put my email in the chat. Just
Yes.
email me, and I will get back to you on that. Ron, I'll make sure you get that.
Okay.
Okay? Just send me an email if you could, but I'll remember to, just so I know what to look up and what have you. Okay? All right. Any other questions? I hope that's a good sign. Okay. No questions? I think I'll play another song here. In fact, no, I won't do it. I was gonna actually I was gonna try to find I have a copy of the Holiday Music Camp one, but it'd take me a minute to dig through my bag of USBs. So what I'll do is I'll just pick another one off here and do another example of that. All right? And so one that I don't need the music with. So I'm going to do load song presets. And how about it's so hard to choose when you want to play several of them. You know what? I know what I'm going to do.
The first one.
The first one, Besame Mucho?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll just do song one.
Sounds good to me.
All right, sounds good to me too. I was thinking of doing it anyway. Okay, so what I did is I did that. I loaded the song presets, and let me just see here. Coincidentally, A1 through 10. In that case, I did actually take the time to load them, to rename all of the presets. I don't know if you can see that there. So we'll do that. All right. That's right. Turn that down there. By the way, I have on my YouTube channel, I have this accompaniment version playing, and then I played my guitar to it. But this is the one I used. And then I did a fast version of it attached to it as well. So check it out someday, or I think I posted it on Patreon. I'll put it out there again for the world. But here we go. Now, this song is going to start off very soft, but as I progress, it gets a little bit louder. So right now, it's going to sound a little soft, okay? Take two. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoy that. I hope you enjoyed the class today too, and if it's something you've seen in the past, hopefully you relearned something. I'll post this up, and it'll probably be in a few days, and I'll clip out the part where we had the goof ups, my camera goof up. So send me an email if you want to see something in the future classes. Send me or put it in the chat before I end the Zoom class today. Or again, email me at rroman@fletchermusic.com. And as always, stay safe, keep playing music, and mwah!